All right. Hey guys, let's take a look at silver. And the $1 million question is the decline over? Is silver on the launch pad getting ready to take off? Let's look at silver through the lens of Elliott wave theory and try to come up with some parameters and discern how likely is silver to break out. Here we go. Let's dive into the chart. All right, so here we are. You know what I want to do first? Just for some context, I'm going to turn off all of these drawings and I'm going to draw your attention to this low right in here. Now, this is a 4-hour chart and there's wicks down here. I don't know if you can see this if you're watching this on the phone. Let me try to make this a little bigger just so you can see what I'm talking about. This last meaningful low right here has got a bunch of wicks down here. And then if you zoom back out a little bit over at the current structure that's happening now, what you can see is that price has come back down very near the price territory of these wicks. Now it made it all the way down here and then bounced just like a child touching a hot stove. So the real question is does price need to come back down here and retest these lows and grab whatever liquidity is left in these wicks right here? So now we're going to turn my drawings back on and we're going to hop over to the region where price is currently, and we're going to try to get some clues as to what is going on. All right, so we're going to hop down to a lower time frame now so we can really dial in the details of this area. Now, the way I was counting this last move down is that it should be a C wave, which means it really should be composed of 5 waves as the final crash-like wave down of an ABC correction. So I must say, this did come almost ideally, almost exactly to the 1618, which is a typical target for wave 3. This played out beautifully all the way down. We have now a bounce. So what I always say is the nature of the bounce is going to inform. So if this is starting to shape up as an impulse, of course, it is always possible that this is the low. Now, when I say impulse, that means a 5-wave structure. I'm talking about a very specific definition of impulse as it relates to Elliott wave theory. Now, let's go down a little bit more to a lower time frame so I can try to see some of the details inside of this little structure, this little seedling of a structure. And the first thing I can see just looking at this, just eyeballing it, if this is a 1, 2, 3, this is way out of proportion. I can already see that without even measuring it, because really what you'd want to see, just as this wave 3 target, just as that wave 3 in white targeted the 1618 level, on any scale, a wave 3 is going to target somewhere in that vicinity. There are other fibs as well that a wave 3 can target, but that is definitely a commonly recurring target for a wave 3. What I can see already on this very small scale is that this 1, 2 is so small that if this were to be a 5-wave structure, it is already out of whack. And I'm trying to grab my template, but I have something on my screen blocking my access to it. There we go. So look how tiny this is. I mean, if this is a 1, 2, this wave is already completely out of any kind of proportions for what you would want to see if this is really beginning a 5-wave structure. I mean, this thing is probably over 400%. Yeah. Yeah. So this is too big. It just is out of proportion to be a 5-wave structure. So, but it is making a net advance. There's no doubt about that. So in Elliott wave speak, if this is going to stop in this area as a wave 4, then really it needs to stop very soon to avoid overlap. So at this moment, these blue fibs are a standard typical area for a fourth wave based on the parameters and the dimensions of this move down. This is a reasonable area for a wave 4 to terminate. And to avoid overlap, price should not get above 2806 because 2806 is the bottom of this wave 1, which is what gave us the 1, 2, 3, possibly wave 4 in progress, and then one final shove down. Now, remember the wicks that I was showing you at the beginning of the video on the 4-hour chart? Those wicks are way over there to the left. This whole area down here is nothing but wicks on the 4-hour. And as we know, the big money is trading 4-hour and daily candles, 8-hour candles. Big money is not even concerned with this. But as retail traders, we are doing our best to try to figure out where a likely bottom is. Now, I must say, regardless of what I was just talking about in terms of this structure, it is making net advancement higher. So that's a fact. So what I will be looking for overnight is this going to come up and get above here? Or is price going to get contained very, very soon here? Let's see. Oh, well, it's just turned 9 o'clock. So you've got this ramping up here into the Asia session. So we'll see what happens during the Europe session. But the parameters that I will be watching myself to discern when I should be getting long, what the parameters I'll be watching is 2806. And honestly, if this can come back down and start wrecking this structure that it's currently got, it's going to need to break these levels. It's going to come back down through the 886. Ultimately, this is the ideal target. Now, something I don't always look for the ratio box, but just since I'm here, why not? I won't talk too much about this idea, but there is a kind of just a rule of thumb ratio between the entire length of 1 through 3 in relation to a potential wave 5. So let's just say that wave 4 terminates at that 50% fib. So I'm going to go down here to my templates and I'm going to grab 3 versus 5 ratio. Look at that. It's depending on where wave 4 terminates. Let's say wave 4 comes up a little higher, but does not get into the price wave of wave 1, which is 2806. So if price of this wave 4 bounce were to come up to 2787, let's say, just poking above here, then the wave 5 ratio lines up beautifully. Even if it terminated right here, like right now, if it already made a top in wave 4, the top of this ratio box does line up exactly with that level, which is the low 2597. This is where all those wicks are. So really the parameters that we're watching is, does it get above this level of 2806? And if it fails to get above there in the rest of the Asia session, then maybe the European session is going to bring it down again. If so, anywhere down here, I think is a reasonable area to get long for a swing trade. Now, let's say, what do you do if this is just going to keep coming up here? Well, I'm going to measure and try to discern if this structure is a 5-wave structure. Perhaps this is somehow 5 waves and it's just out of whack because on this lower degree, Elliott wave is much less reliable on a tiny nano basis. It's the same way that for a candle trader, a guy trading candle work, a guy trading candles will be the first guy to tell you, that a 5-minute chart is not as reliable as a 1-hour chart. If you're looking at candle patterns or any kind of pattern for that matter, when you're trading the really nano stuff, it's less reliable. And, Elliott wave is no different from that. So you got to keep it in mind. So just trying to figure out what is likely. If this is I think it's unlikely that this is a 1-2 because this pullback just touched the 236. whereas if it's a wave 2, it really should come back deeper. It doesn't seem likely that this is a 1-2, but it's not up to me. Price is going to do whatever it wants. So as long as price does not get above 2806, and if it can start cracking somewhere later in the Europe session and it comes back down, wouldn't that be, I think it would be awesome if this can come back down and just wreck during the Euro session, or even in the Asia session, but wreck this, come all the way down correctively, maybe in 3 waves, and get down into this region, or even below, slightly below, take out the lower lows with a wick. I'm going to have some open orders down here. The reason being, it is worthwhile to try to catch a swing entry for a swing trade. Now, silver, this would be, I've lost count, but I think roughly the 3rd opportunity to try to catch a swing long. Now, if you're scalping, all of these levels are scalpable. I mean, I have forfeited my scalping in silver in exchange for trying to get a long swing entry. So I'm just not dealing with all the minutia like I normally am, grabbing the pips, protecting. Now, I'm just going for swing trades. And I've taken some heat. I've adjusted my size. I'm not focused on the gains. I'm focused on getting good and long in the safest way possible. And that includes taking some heat at times and then redeeming myself later with bounces and readjusting my size, because really what I'm trying to do is layer into a swing long. And then based on how I'm tracking structure, there will be opportunities to add contracts or positions or whatever instrument you're trading. We want to add positions so you don't have to go crazy and go heavy. Just layer in, allow this to come down, get a few long positions, and then on the way up, there's going to be some areas that I think are going to be reasonable to add. So that's the short story. Stay below 2806 and get down here below this low, certainly, and ideally make it below 2622. So the parameters are 2806, get below 2622, or including 2622 for a buy. I don't know how much heat you can take. Try to stay small, because I'm going to open some orders for down here in case this comes down in the middle of the night. I'm going to be long. I'm going to buy long using small positioning, multiple, maybe one here, meaning one at 2622, another one at 2597. And then for good measure, I'll probably put one halfway. So that would be 3 very small positions if it's going to come back. If I wake up in the morning and it's way up here, I'm going to take some more measurements and try to discern what is going on, because I do not want to get long if this thing is still just in some kind of a correction and it needs lower. I want to get long at the areas in structure that would be considered a high probability long setup. And I believe that to be lower now that you had this nasty 3rd wave. I'm just going to stick with this being a 4th bounce, a wave 4 bounce with one more shove to come. All right, so that's what I got. Look, if you're enjoying this video, if you're getting some value, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I will be updating silver. Like I've been saying, it's on my radar now. I'm updating it more. My goal is to build into a long position further in my Roth account. And so if you're subscribing, you're going to get the notifications every time I post a video. All right, I appreciate you watching. Thanks. If you've got any questions about Elliott Wave, feel free to drop it in the comments. I will check the comments and I will answer your question gladly. If you're looking for a club to trade with a bunch of like-minded people, check out my description. It's The Professor Trades. It's Armando from Miami. Killer scalper, killer trader, killer teacher. Highly recommend for less than $1 a day. You can come in the club, get all the support you need, get all the technical information you need, and trade with a bunch of people who are getting it done on a daily basis. All right. Thanks a lot for watching. Good luck. Bye-bye.